The golden retriever was not supposed to be in the room. When they found him there, lying beside the newborn, perfectly still, they panicked. The neonatologists looked at the photograph they'd taken and said something they will never forget. Sonny had been with the Pelletier family for 7 years before Margot arrived. 7 years of being the center of a household that had not yet made room for a child. He had been the baby, the morning wake-up, the evening walk, the creature whose schedule organized the household today. When Rachel and Thomas Pelletier began preparing for Margot's arrival, they prepared Sonny too. They did everything correctly. Crib introduction, baby sounds, swaddled doll left for him to investigate. They established the nursery as a supervised-only space. They consulted their veterinarian. They read. They prepared. Margot came home in early February, 6 pounds 11 ounces, sleeping the deep ratcheted sleep of a newborn in the first week of life. Sonny had been introduced carefully, calmly, with both parents present. He had sniffed the car seat, sat at a respectful distance and looked at the baby with that careful assessment of an old dog, meeting something new and small and important. They did not allow him in the nursery unsupervised. The door had a latch. The latch required deliberate operation to open. Thomas had tested it. It required a firm push and pull sequence. He had seen Sonny open simple knobs. The latch, he was confident, was beyond Sonny's capability. He was wrong. On the 9th night, Rachel woke at 4 in the morning for Margot's feed and opened the nursery door and found Sonny on the floor beside the bassinet. He was lying stretched along the length of the bassinet, his body parallel to it, his head raised, watching the baby with the quality of attention she had seen him give the yard when a deer was in it. Complete, uninterruptible. He did not look guilty. He did not look up when she came in. He looked at Margot. Rachel stood in the doorway for 4 full seconds. Then she looked at the bassinet. Margot was breathing. Margot was making those small, ratcheting newborn sounds that meant all was well. Thomas was behind her. He said, very quietly, "What do we do?" Rachel, who had been a NICU nurse for 6 years before taking her leave, looked at the dog lying beside her daughter and the way he was positioned. His body along the outside of the bassinet, his head at its highest point, his eyes on the baby. And something settled in her chest that she could not immediately name. She took a photograph. Then she lifted Sonny and brought him back to the hallway. He let himself be moved without resistance. He sat in the hallway outside the door and lay down and stayed. She sent the photograph to her colleague, Dr. Amélie Brosseau, neonatologist at the hospital where Rachel had worked. She sent it at 4:15 in the morning with no caption. Dr. Brosseau's response came at 6:42. It said, "Where was the baby when he got in there?" "In the bassinet." Rachel answered, "He didn't get in. He was beside it." Dr. Brosseau replied, "I need to ask you something. How is Margot's temperature regulation? If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you are in the right place. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one." Rachel called Dr. Brosseau that morning. The conversation lasted 40 minutes. Neonates, particularly those born in colder months, require external thermal regulation in their first weeks. Margot had been born just below the window for premature birth, 36 weeks, technically full term, but on the edge. And her temperature regulation was still maturing. The room had been kept at 68 degrees, within the standard recommendation. But a standard recommendation is not calibrated to an individual infant's specific thermoregulatory capacity. Sonny's body, positioned along the outside of the bassinet, functioned as a thermal mass, his resting temperature of 101 degrees Fahrenheit, conducted through the bassinet's lightweight frame into the air immediately surrounding it, was raising the ambient temperature of that microenvironment by approximately 2 to 3 degrees. Margot, whom Rachel had been noting was sleeping slightly shorter cycles, and had seemed mildly unsettled in the nights before Sonny began coming in, had been mildly subclinically cold. Not dangerously cold. Not cold enough to register on a thermometer or trigger concern. Cold enough that a dog's heat-sensing nervous system had identified it, and his ancient domesticated instincts had responded. He had been keeping her warm, the same way dogs had kept human infants warm for 10,000 years before central heating existed. Has your dog ever positioned himself near your newborn in a way you didn't initially understand? Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard. Dr. Brousseau told Rachel, off the record, that she had seen this behavior documented in literature going back to the early 20th century. That the thermoregulatory relationship between dogs and human infants was one of the oldest forms of co-evolved care in the human-animal bond. That Sonny was not behaving strangely. That Sonny was behaving in the most ancient way a dog knows how to behave around a cold baby. She said, "He knew before your thermometer did. They have not changed the latch." Every guardian deserves to be recognized, even the ones who never asked for anything in return. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. Margot is 3 years old. She and Sonny are inseparable in the specific way of a child who has never known a world without a dog in it, which is to say, she cannot imagine warmth without him. Sonny is 11 now, gray around the muzzle, slower on the stairs. He still sleeps outside her door. Some instincts do not retire. The next story involves a dog who began following a parent's shadow, only the shadow, for 9 consecutive days.